We now move forward to the next session, ladies and gentlemen, which is all about responsible AI in finance. Once again, a pertinent discussion that's going to take place right here. Before moving forward, I would like to thank our silver partners, Artis Software, The Fixed Income, Vakrangi, True Balance, and Kisht. Thank you so much once again to all of our partners. And let me now go ahead and invite our speakers on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Mr. Chetan Krishnaswamy, Vice President, Public Policy, Amazon, as well as Shri Abhishek Singh, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. Could we have a round of applause as they join us on stage?
So I thought we were going to have a full house. Do we have a full house? Looks like we do. Anyway, good afternoon to everyone here. And it's a pleasure to welcome you all to this session on responsible AI in finance. Joining me today is Mr. Abhishek Singh, Additional Secretary at the Ministry of Electronics and IT and CEO of the India AI Mission. Mr. Singh has nearly 3 decades of experience in governance and technology policy. He's also played a central role in shaping India's AI strategy and has been named to the Time 100 AI list for 2025 for his contributions to digital governance. So I'm talking about the Time magazine's top 100 AI leaders. And as India prepares to host the AI Impact Summit next year, Mr. Singh continues to guide the mission towards scalable impact and global relevance. Welcome, sir. Just by way of quick introduction, according to a widely circulated report from a leading consultancy, generative AI is already driving productivity gains of up to 40% in financial services. Meanwhile, the RBI says that productivity gains in banking operations could go up to 46% by 2030. By 2035, AI could unlock an additional $50 to $55 billion in value for Indian financial services, and the sector is expected to contribute a major share of the $500 billion that AI would contribute to India's GDP by 2036. Both RBI and SEBI and various other sort of financial institutions have come up with frameworks clearly outlining the need for responsible implementation of AI. Going forward, it becomes extremely crucial and critical. And the need to ensure that there is robust governance, transparency, and more than anything else, both the recommendation frameworks talk about the need for human oversight to ensure that AI adoption in the country is both innovative and trustworthy. Over the course of today's discussion, we will invite Mr. Singh to share his views and explore how India can foster responsible AI innovation. With that, I pose this first question, which I'm sure also exists in the minds of numerous people in the audience. Please give us a sense of India's approach to AI. What are the plans of the AI mission? What are your immediate long-term goals, etc., etc.?
India sees AI as a great kinetic enabler to kickstart, to push economic growth, as also to ensure better delivery of public services. What we do believe is that our core strength is our human capital, the talent that we have. In fact, the Stanford AI Index rates India as the #1 country in AI skill penetration. If you look at the GitHub repository, the number of people contributing AI projects there, India is amongst the top nations, accounting for almost 20% of the AI projects on the GitHub repository. So with talent there, our normal question comes in, is that why are we lagging so much behind the United States and China? Why can't we take leadership and why can't we push forward development, deployment, and adoption of AI within the country and making Indian AI products common globally? So it was felt that there are certain gaps in our AI story. primarily being investment in R&D, investment in startups, and provisioning for compute infrastructure. So with this in mind, the India AI mission was approved last year, which seeks to address all the gaps in our AI story. It's a 7-pillar strategy, many of you would be familiar with. The first pillar, of course, is to address the gap of ability of compute. Till last year, we had only 600 odd GPUs available at Airavat infrastructure at CDAC Pune. Today, we have almost 38,000 plus GPUs that has been made available to Indian developers, startups, entrepreneurs, students, researchers at a low cost, at a cost of an average cost of rupees 65 per GPU per hour, compared to the global prices of $3 up to $2.5 to $3 per GPU hour. In addition, we have set up an AI datasets platform, because datasets is again another ingredient that's required along with talent and compute to train models and to build applications. The AI Kosh datasets platform today has got almost 3,000 datasets, 240 models, and it's trying to ensure that all relevant datasets from public sector and private sector is made available in an AI usable form for researchers and entrepreneurs and startups to build models, to do inferencing, to make applications. In addition, like foundation models has been a pain point. We have been dependent on foundation models which are not Indian, which are not trained on Indian languages, which are not trained in Indian context, our culture, our heritage, our knowledge. So we are financing and supporting 12 initiatives to build Indian LLMs and SLMs. One of it is right here in Bombay, the Bharat Gen initiative, IIT Bombay, wherein Professor Ganesh and his team are trying to build up a 1 trillion parameter model. Sarvam in Bangalore is at the forefront of developing an Indian foundation model, and we hope that by the time we host the India's Impact Summit, they will be coming up with the Indian model, which will provide voice-enabled services. In addition, we are also developing applications across several sectors, especially healthcare, agriculture, education, learning disabilities, governance, climate change. And these applications, around 30 applications have been identified, which are currently in the process of being scaled up. Then we are providing funding support to startups who are working in this field through a fund of funds, and also connecting them with accelerators, incubators, so that startups who are working in the field of AI can get funding support when they need the most, especially the pre-seed and seed stage. Then we are pushing forward on skilling, because we do realize that even though we have the skilling advantage, but in order to retain that advantage, we need to ensure that we continue to train students and provide funding support for researchers who are taking projects in the field of AI, both undergrad level, postgraduate level, and at the research level. And the scholarships and fellowships that we are offering under the Future Skills pillar is not only available to students who are doing engineering or STEM, but it's available to students who are taking up AI projects in any discipline, including law, commerce, humanities, liberal arts, so medicine. So there also we are funding projects for under AI. And last but not the least, the 7th pillar, as we call it, is the safe and trustworthy pillar. How do we ensure that whatever AI applications are being developed or models are being developed, they conform to the responsible AI principles, they conform to safe and trustworthy guidelines that we have come out with. And therein, our prime objective is to ensure that while we promote innovation, we restrict any harm that can be caused to users by using these applications.
No, that's very interesting. And also, in the last couple of days, we've been seeing a whole host of CEOs of large and small AI companies talking about how India is the next big thing in terms of data repository, in terms of talent, et cetera, et cetera. Is there a differentiated approach that the government of India is taking while bringing in these companies? You also mentioned about the booming startup scene. How do we ensure that we really get our due and is not simply seen as a hub for data repository?
Yeah, like very rightfully said. See, currently we are India is seen as a the country which has a large number of AI users. Like, for example, Sam Altman came with a statement that India is the largest growing market for ChatGPT and OpenAI products. So what happens is that when you end up being only a user, you end up contributing your data sets and your knowledge to these models and help them become better. So till such time we are able to build our own models and our own solutions, we have no choice but to be dependent on what is available. That is why we are very keen to support our startups and the companies which are building these models and researchers, that we come up with Indian solutions so that we'll have an alternative. So we are really hopeful that a company like Sarvam, Gyani, Socket, GAN, BharatGen, GenLoop, Gentic, who are working on Tech Mahindra, Fractal, who are working on AI, LLMs and SLMs, they are able to build what they are trying to do. And we are, from the side of Government of India, we are providing all necessary support that is required for doing that. And when they do that, these models will be open source. They will be available for the developer community within India. So it's very essential that we kind of build our strength in this field and not end up being AI users for the solutions that the big tech is building anyways.
Also, coming back to financial services, you're aware that today there exists a credit gap when it comes to small businesses, especially rural hinterlands of the country. How can AI business models, new emerging AI business models, cater to this gap that exists?
There is a huge challenge with regard to making credit available to smaller players, people who do not have access to organized capital, people, small retailers, small businesses, farmers. But what happens is that they do have alternate ways of proving their financial strength, which can lead a microfinance company or a bank or a financial institution to extend them with credit. But unfortunately, the collection of their data is not there in an organized manner. So what we began with was the account aggregator framework, wherein information from various sources, whether it was bank statements or whether it was GST information, tax information, transaction information, was being pooled together, and that was becoming the basis for extending a loan or a finance or a credit to a person who was needing it. With AI coming in, there is a potential of leveraging more such data points. For example, if there's a farmer who is like selling produce in the local mandi, can the mandi receipts be digitized and those data sets be available to a financial institution, which kind of proves to the bank or the microfinance institution that this person has the strength to pay back the loans? Because ultimately, the ultimate decision on the basis of which you give credit is whether the person who is borrowing will return the money or not. So if that can be proved by alternate data sources, which is possible by building AI models around these information sources that are coming in, which will ensure that credit can be given more easily. And if that happens, we will be able to offer more loans to those who need at the time they need the most, and they will be able to move up the economic ladder. Similarly, insurance is something that is yet to grow in our country. Number of people who are able to access insurance for the various kind of products and services they are building is very few. If information with regard to this, if the risk factor with regard to the operations that people are doing can be factored, and AI models can be used by analyzing the data points which are there to build insurance products, innovative insurance products, that will really enhance the ability for people to create economic products and solutions and help not only augment their own incomes, but also contribute to the national income. And this will be very, very vital for us to be able to move up on the path to Viksit Bharat, to move up from $4 trillion economy to the $30 trillion economy.
To make all of this happen, including the Viksit Bharat, what perhaps may be extremely critical is actually building out an indigenous AI stack. And in fact, even the RBI's report talks about the need for an indigenous AI stack. So what are your thoughts and what efforts is the mission putting in to really make this happen?
See, like as I mentioned, the 7-pillar strategy of the mission, one of the key aspects of this is to support building the India's AI stack, right from compute to models to applications to use cases to tools for ensuring responsible AI frameworks. So we do hope that with the compute being made available, with the models being developed, we will have an indigenous stack. And once that happens, the data of Indians, if we start, more of us start using a Sarvam stack or Gyani stack or sockets or GANs or any of the BharatGens, then these models will become better as compared to the Western models which are available. And then we'll be able to truly harness the potential that we can have. And what it will ultimately lead in is something that, see, like when I and you, we use an Gen AI model, whether we use ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude, whichever ones you use, ultimately what does it result in? It allows us to do more with less. If I have to read a 600-page document, so I can spend like 6 hours reading it, or I can just use it and get the juice out of it in within minutes and be able to be done with it. Or if I have to write a document, I can do it better. So it's ultimately making us more efficient. They're making us more productive. So similarly, using the indigenous AI stack, if we can transfer these efficiency and productivity gains to every sector of the economy, can we build products which can make a farmer more efficient? Can we help us, him or her, access the best information with regard to what crop he should sow, where he should buy fertilizers, what pesticides he should use, where he should sell his produce, at what price point he should sell his produce, or a small retailer or a small MSME to determine his product mix, where to get the inputs, where to sell. So if all these intelligent decisions, which sometimes are limited to people who have access to information, if this is democratized, and if all these sectors become more efficient, become more productive, their incomes will go up, and ultimately that will contribute to national income. So the value of Indian indigenous AI stack is in addressing these use cases, addressing these problem statements, and building products and solutions that enhances efficiency and productivity of all sectors of our economy.
And you did mention that in an hour from now you're meeting the AI advisor to the UK. Similarly, are you having multiple other conversations across various country heads and representatives?
Yes, we do have, because AI by nature the technology is global. Like the models are developed in some of the geography, the applications in some of the geography, users and in some of the geography. So what is required is for various nations to come together, to come out with a common minimum framework, common minimum benchmarks, which ensures that AI is adopted in a responsible manner, in an ethical manner. So we were the chair of Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence last year, and we drove the discussions around developing a framework at OECD for developing a ethical AI governance framework. We are part of the G7 Friends group, wherein we are working with the G7 countries to develop responsible principles for Gen AI. We are part of the UN high-level advisory body on AI, which is again addressing similar issues. Another issue apart from the responsible principles is the capacity building. How do we ensure that we are able to enhance capacities across all levels, and more so of regulators? Because it's one thing for regulators to want to regulate, but if you don't have the inherent capability or capacity to regulate, it will remain a wish only which is not fulfilled. So developing tools for regulation, providing it, sharing it with different countries, democratizing access to compute, data sets, algorithms, all of it has been part of the global discussions, narratives. India is at the forefront of that, and again, it will be further be deliberated, finalized when we host the AI Impact Summit in February next year.
Also, I think what is really commendable is the fact that India is not rushing into it, with throwing billions of dollars, which we can do if we want to. I think we are taking a more measured, a more deliberate approach, surveying the landscape and then doing what is best suited for the country. So are we going to continue to go down this path? Obviously.
See, the technology is evolving very fast in this domain. In fact, what is valid today and the H100s, H200s, they become obsolete very fast. So that is why when we decided our compute strategy, we did not go into building a model in which government buys, government owns, government runs kind of model. What we did was that when we empaneled service providers to provide compute, we felt that ultimately the best judge for deciding what is required and what the market requires is the private sector. So we came up with a model in which we incentivize the private sector to invest into the compute infrastructure that is needed for developing our AI ecosystem. So the decision with regard to whether you want AMDs or whether you want NVIDIA or whether you want Intel or whether you want Google TPUs, that decision was kind of given to the private sector, and we allowed them to invest into whatever they felt the market needs. And again, the end users whom we are subsidizing, we said that let them decide. If a startup in Bangalore, or if a researcher in IIT Bombay or IIT Madras, if they want to train a model or want to build an AI application, let them decide what compute compute they want. And the market forces, the end users and those who are investing, once they decide, we are able to kind of insulate ourselves and ensure that the risk is minimized. So that way we have been able to, even though it may appear to be a measured and a slow approach, but we are able to move forward in the most optimal manner. And today, in fact, many countries of the world are looking at this model. In fact, when the World Bank and the Gates Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation talk to us, they have been looking at, can we replicate this model for the global south? There are many countries who do not have access to GPUs. They are saying, can we work this kind of model and ensure that access to compute is made available to other countries. So in a way, what we have done has set an example. Hopefully, we'll be able to strengthen it and ensure that it works, at least in India.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. Also, I think in all of this frenzy that exists, what is of paramount importance is also, consumer safety. And as a member of RBI's AI committee, what are the kind of deliberations and risk-based concerns that you folks debated? And does the RBI, I'm sure the RBI would have put in place certain guardrails to ensure that the AI technologies that are at the forefront do not impact the customer adversely.
Yeah, that was like the core focus behind the Free AI Committee report that Professor Balram Ravindran and other colleagues that we were part of, Professor Pushpak Bhattacharya, unfortunately, he was the chair of the company. We lost him 2 days back. But the committee came out with 7 sutras with regard to the free AI framework for responsible AI adoption in financial services. And at the core of the report was that we will prioritize innovation over restraint. And the objective for this was that AI should be used for enabling financial services to those who need it and those who deserve it, and not be used for denying financial services. So it kind of defines how AI can be used for driving innovative products while reducing the risks which might be there. And for defining the risk and for ensuring that we limit the harm that can be caused by such products, the key tenets that were defined as 7 sutras included trust. Like, how do we build trust into the whole system? How do we keep people first? How do we keep interest of the end user in mind? How do we keep a human in the whole loop to ensure that responsible responsible AI decisions are taken? Equity and fairness was a very important pillar. Accountability, like how do we apportion accountability between developers and deployers? How do we build AI applications which are understandable by design was a key focus area. Transparency was a key suggestion, the key pillar that was defined as one of the sutras. Then, of course, safety and resilience was another key area. So the way it was articulated is that while we have to be mindful of the abuse or the use of AI in an adverse manner, but at the same time, we'll have to also balance it with the innovative solutions that can be built in, that can ensure we can enable financial inclusion, we can enable building innovative products, we can define a risk framework which kind of incentivizes people at low risk to access AI-enabled financial products and services. And at the same time, for higher risk products, there's enough framework for due diligence, red teaming, incident reporting. So the framework defines a very innovative approach wherein we can leverage the technology while limiting the harm that it can cause.
Also, going by the choice of your words and terms, we are talking about frameworks, we are talking about, principles. Again, what is interesting is that the government of India is not coming up with a definite diktat or, coming in with a iron fist when it comes to regulating the AI space. Can you tell us more about this philosophy or this outlook?
Yeah, like our approach and our belief at the current stage of development of technology is that we do not need an AI law per se, like the European Union has done it. We do believe that the existing laws with regard to regulating end use of technology are sufficient. And we do believe that our principle is not to regulate the technology per se, but to regulate the end usage. So for example, if there is an AI application in financial sector, it will be regulated by RBI or SEBI, as the case may be. If there is an AI application in healthcare, it will be regulated by the health regulators, whether it is the ICMR or National Drug Control Authority of India, because ultimately it's no different from defining a different treatment protocol or approving a vaccine or approving a medicine. So just like that, the domain regulator looks into whether that medicine or vaccine results in benefits or doesn't or has more adverse effects, and based on that only they will approve a cough syrup or any kind of a vaccine. So similarly, an AI protocol, say for example, diagnosing tuberculosis, will again be approved in case the health regulator finds that the bot, the AI bot that helps diagnose tuberculosis by looking at X-ray machines is as good as a human radiologist. And if the performance is better than that or equal to that, then they will approve it. So what we are looking at is that empowering, building capacities of the regulators, of end users, who would kind of decide whether something is going to be deployed at scale or not. Instead of we saying whether at the technology level, whether we regulate it or not. That's the approach we have taken, and currently we don't feel any need of a law per se, but if the technology goes beyond where it is, if we go to artificial general intelligence and some of the naysayers which are coming in, then government always reserves the right to come out with a legal framework as and when needed.
And as you rightly indicated, it's important to really equip the regulators to act in a manner that is, fair, that is transparent, and obviously they need to have a solid understanding of, the implications of the technology. So as the mission sort of evolves and matures over a period of time, are you looking at a programmatic approach to really ensure that the regulators are bound by a common set of, principles again?
Like the principles are kind of well being defined by the committee and the principal scientific advisor, which is coming out of the India's AI guidelines. Principles will be there, but ultimately
It's not yet out, the guidelines?
The guidelines are the final stages. They will be published next week or so. So, but the principles are similar to what I have espoused. But the idea is that while principles are one thing, in order to ensure that every regulator is able to enforce the principles, they need tools to be able to do that. For example, if an AI application or a model is biased or not, you need a bias mitigation, a bias detection tool. You need stress testing tools. You need red teaming exercises. You need tools with which we can do privacy and enhancing. We do need tools for anonymization. We do need tools for machine unlearning. We need tools for detecting deep fakes. So these tools, as part of the India's AI Safety Institute, we are getting it developed and will make it available to the entire community of not only regulators, but even those who are developing applications so that they can self-test it and ensure that they comply with the whole regulatory framework. Because the idea is to not enhance the cost of compliance for our startups and all. Because if we do that, if we come out with very stringent principles and requirements, the cost of compliance goes up, which will ultimately only benefit the big tech. So we need to create a policy environment which ensures that Indian companies, Indian researchers, Indian startups are able to take maximum advantage of the opportunity that lies ahead.
Absolutely. So we've come to sadly, the end of our conversation. And the one big question that I had is, there are a lot of companies here, representatives from, multinational large corporations too. So how can we participate in the AI summit, which is happening in February? What expectation do you hold, and what are the avenues for us to participate and contribute to the agenda?
See, there are multiple avenues to participate. In fact, one very approach that we have taken is a very participative, inclusive approach. In fact, we have called upon private sector organizations, civil society organizations, think tanks, academic institutions to do pre-events to the summit. So in the run-up to the summit, we already are doing almost 200 plus events. 50 of them are already held. In fact, I was just messaging my team that why did we not brand this also as a pre-event of the Impact Summit without my logo there? Maybe we missed out. But we are doing this at multiple levels. So all of you who who are interested in hosting a pre-event in your city, in your organization, you can go to impact.indiaai.gov.in, make a request, and we will provide even support for hosting such events. In addition, we have launched 3 hackathons, innovation challenges for startups and entrepreneurs. One is a general challenge, one is only for women, women-led startups and women researchers, and one is for youth below 21 years of age. We are also having a research symposium in which researchers can present papers. The call for papers is also out on our website. We are also having an expo at the exhibition in the main on the whole week of 16th to 20th, wherein companies who are building AI products, they can showcase their solutions. Even at the main event, the sessions can be hosted by our partners. We are not looking at hosting all our events ourselves. We are looking at partners who will be accredited. They will be given brand guidelines, and within the overall framework, they can pick a particular theme. It can be safe and trustworthy. It can be AI application. It can be any dimension. It can be the copyright law. And you can host a session during the summit with our logo, branding, and you will have the complete freedom to get the right speakers and right audiences. So there are multiple ways to participate. The details of it is available on impact.indiaai.gov.in, and would look forward to your participating actively in the pre-events as well as during the summit.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mr. Abhishek Singh, for coming in and sharing your perspectives and your views. And we will have the Honorable Prime Minister here tomorrow attending the summit. And more than anything else, I think what is most impressive is the fact that India is approaching the entire AI narrative in an extremely thoughtful manner, ensuring that we are looking at a more inclusive agenda, but at the same time ensuring that we are putting in place guardrails and other safety mechanisms to ensure that the average Indian doesn't get sort of left behind in the overall race. So thank you again, and thank you, audience, for being part of this session.
Thank you. Thank you so much to our dignitaries on the dais. We'd request you to please come to the center of the stage together for a group photo. Yes, the photo together. Yes, please. Thank you so much.